Hello, this is Beata Seweryn-Reid with Meaningful Conversations live every Tuesday at noon. I'm so happy to be here with you today. And Meaningful Conversations were created for you to help you grow, bring more meaning, hope into your life. And what I do, I usually bring awesome people, awesome speakers that because of their own story, because of their own challenges, are coming here to share with you what they did to support themselves and how they are helping others today. And today I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled because I have very special, one and the only in the world, friend and mentor and, oh my gosh, amazing human, Bruce Van Horn. And I'm not sure how many of you know him, but he has like millions followers. So if you don't, you go and check it right now. We're gonna talk, but before we're gonna talk, I want to say, Bruce, welcome. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to be here today with me. And without you, I would not speak to anyone in front of the camera. You know that.
Oh, Beata, you are amazing, and it is an absolute privilege to be here. I loved you the moment I met you on a first video call years ago before an event that we where we met in person in Hawaii. Lisa Peterson and I did a
That's true.
weekend retreat in Hawaii, and you wanted to be a part of that. And it was wonderful, and it's been great to know you, to watch your growth. So as you are a coach now. Sorry about that. I'm outside, and
That's
so
okay.
is my dog, and one of my boys just came home.
It's
Um,
just confirming
you know,
that it's live. You cannot fake it.
that's right. I can't take that. I'd pan the camera around and let you see my giant golden doodle. Um, he's the gentle giant. And one of the things that, and you know this from firsthand experience, one of the greatest rewards is as a coach, as somebody who is invested in helping other people grow, is to see that the things that you did to help a person, they took it and ran with it and actually grew and improved their lives. And so to see where you were when we first met and see where you are now is I have to say thank you to you, because I gave you tools, resources, encouragement, but you were the one who had to actually do the work, right? I couldn't do the work for you. So, but you
That
knew
is
what you
so.
wanted. You wanted some help getting there, but you had to do the work. So thank you for becoming who and what you are, right? Because it's the butterfly
Thank,
effect. When
thank you
when
so.
one person in the world improves themselves, then everybody in the world is improved by that process.
I'm so thankful, and I have to bring a little bit of this story because I was in a very, very bad spot at that time in my life. I didn't really know what I want because my mind was so scattered. My marriage was almost falling apart. I was not happy. And actually, my husband was listening to your podcast. Life is a marathon. Please go and check, everyone. This is the best podcast ever. And so my husband started listening to it and seeing my struggles. He said, you should listen to that guy. He is fantastic. And I was skeptic at the beginning, like, oh yes, another person is gonna say, think positively and blah, blah, blah. But I did listen, and it was, wow. It was like, this lightning. And I said, oh my God, I want, and it was the only thing I knew, I want to meet this guy in person and work with him a little bit, at least a little bit. I was scared even of working with any coach at that time. But then you offer this workshop in Hawaii, and I was like, I'm just going. And it's when my path of self-improvement actually started with you. But I didn't mention that Bruce is writer, speaker, coach, podcaster, like huge, like big time podcaster. He has 1 million followers on Twitter, so please go and check him out. And as I said, he's such a great human, just down to the earth. And, you know, I think it's, and you hear his voice. His voice is so attracting. Oh my gosh, it's like you want to listen. He calms me down just by talking. So, Bruce, I know that you help millions people around the world to actually, you are very nice saying that you just use your words to create change, but it's more than that. You bring positive change, hope, inspiration, and actually they are able to act on it, so on whatever they want. And these days, especially, one of the major issues in the world is this constant worry chatter in our head. And I know that you're expert in it. Here you go. Worry no more. 4 steps to stop worrying and start living, by Bruce Van Horn. And it's what my journey started, because I'm a constant worrier. And I know one of your chapter in this book was also about worry. So how do you help people? I know that you use different types of techniques in self-development techniques. How do you help people to stop worrying and start living?
Oh gosh, you know, it's my job is really simple actually, and the process for creating peace in your life is very, very simple. Just like running a marathon is actually very simple. Now, don't confuse being simple with being easy, right? It's not some complex formula. To run a marathon, you literally just put one foot in front of the other and you just keep doing it. But it doesn't mean it's easy because your muscles get tired and you get hungry and all these things, yet you keep doing it. So there's no formula for this other than the realization that whatever you're worried about isn't true, right? It's just not true. I can promise you that it's not, right? Because anything that you're worried about is you thinking about something that has not happened yet, right? And now it may be based on a truth of something that happened in the past, right? So maybe you did get fired from your job, right? But being worried about how you won't be able to pay your bills next month, that's not true, because next month isn't real. The only thing that's real is right now. And the only time that you have to do anything in order to change the potential outcome is right now. So that's number one, absolute number one, is remembering that whatever it is you're worried about is a story that you are telling yourself about what will happen in the future, and it's not true. You're writing a fictional movie, and you're scripting the movie, and you're doing set design, and you're doing character development, and you're feeling pain, literal emotional pain, before you need to, but you're actually feeling it now when the event hasn't even happened yet, right? So that's the first place we start, is this awareness that whatever it is you're worried about, you are creating that scenario. And you could just as easily create in your mind a scenario in which you win, in which you get the rent, in which you are able to get up off the couch and go do something, right? That that's the thing. And the other thing is, as I know you wanted to talk about this topic, E plus R equals O. That, you know, that's a formula, right? But it doesn't get any easier than that. People, do you know in your life, I know a bunch of them. They've got a story about their life. And it's a story about why they're not as happy as they think they should be, or why they're not as wealthy or as healthy, or whatever it is. They have this story. Well, I am the way I am because this thing happened. I got fired from my job. I got this disease. My spouse left me. I was in an automobile accident. The economy crumbled. The government made these changes. We all have this. We've got this thing or group of things that we blame, and that's event, right? Now,
Right.
the fun, and again, I don't want to make light of anybody's pain. That a pain, okay? But here's what you also need to know, and I forget who it was that said this. I usually remember who says some of my favorite quotes, but I don't remember who said it. But somebody said, pain is pain, right? Pain is pain. You fall and you break your arm, that's real pain, right? No one's going to deny that. Suffering is optional, right? The suffering is the story that you tell yourself. Oh, I can't believe I broke my arm. Why does all that? Now of all times, this is we bad things always happen to me, right? And then for whatever reason, let's suppose 20 years later, you wanted to be a professional violinist or a professional baseball player or a painter, and you're dominantly right-handed and you broke your right arm. So now 20 years later, you've got this story about an event that happened 20 years ago. Well, I was I was on target to be a world-class violinist, and then I broke my arm. Or actually what we would typically say in that scenario, because we're already victim thinking, we instead of saying I broke my arm, we would say my arm got broken, or somebody tripped me. The cat tripped me and I fell down the stairs and my got broken. So we remove ourselves from any culpability or blame for the actual event. But now 20 years later, we're describing about how we never became what we thought we were going to become because of an event that happened 20 years ago. And how long did that event take? The actual fall and the breaking of the arm probably took less than 20 seconds. Okay? The arm may have actually hurt for a month or two, a very short period of time. You've been telling the story now for 20 years. Now you're telling a story about the big event, whatever it was, happened 20 years ago. But what really was the big event? The big event was you kept telling this story over and over and over again. The event happened and is done, never happened again. But you've got this story and you blame who and what you are now based on what happened to you back then, which may or may not have been your fault. You could have maybe prevented the fall, but who cares? It doesn't really matter. You broke your arm. That's the event. Now, when we live in that type of scenario, and most of us do, right? I'm not as wealthy, I used to have money, but my business partner stole all my money, or the economy crashed, and I got COVID-19, or whatever
Right.
it is. We live in this thing happened to me, therefore I am what I am right now. I'm in this circumstance. The what I am right now is, let's call that the outcome, right? I am living the outcome of my life. And the reason that I am the way that I am is because of that event. So that's an E, the event equaled the outcome. The event created who I am now. Okay? So many
Okay.
of us live in that. Right? Now, we don't have
Absolutely.
to do much of a Google search. right? Right? We don't have to do a lot of research. We can simply type famous painter, famous violinist, and we will read stories about people who became what we thought we were going to become, and they might have even broken their arm too, and they learned how to play music with their left hand instead of their right hand, right? And so that same two people break their arms, but two people have very different outcomes. So it can't be the event. Let's take
Right.
something like, well, certainly where you are. You live in Colorado, which isn't quite as much as say out in California, where wildfires come through and burn houses. So within a neighborhood, everybody loses their house. So everyone in the community experienced the very same event. Yet a year later, some people have rebuilt their homes. Some people have moved to a new town and started a new life and are moving on. Some people are still sitting in, if not the literal, but the metaphor ashes of their burned out life, right? So it can't be the event that produces the outcome. It has to be how we respond to the event that produces the
So
outcome.
from what you're saying, is
And,
it
and
your voice is breaking sometimes? I'm not sure if it's on my side. So
that's
from
all
what
right.
you are saying, I hear that the other technique that you use with this one is restoring. Yes, so you help people to restore the old story. It's what I'm hearing.
Right? Tell a new story, right? Choose a different response to the event, right? Tell a story in which, you know what, this hurt. This is a setback. Yet I can overcome this. I can still be who I wanted to be. I can still do what I wanted to do. I can still become what I know I was born to become, just by telling a different story. The other thing that I like to tell people is using that word responsibility, right? A lot of people don't take responsibility, right? You are 100% responsible. Now, what I like to do, some people don't like it. Well, I'm not responsible for the fact that I broke my arm. I was in an automobile accident. It was the other person's fault. How am I responsible for that? Let's respell it. And let's say that you are 100% response dash able. You are
Wow.
able to respond to anything in a way that serves you well, in a way that moves you forward. So you've got to constantly question this story, right?
Mm.
You even though I and you know a lot of my story. I 6 years ago was diagnosed with 4 prostate cancer. Right, the outlook was
Right.
not good. The doctors were not sure if I would survive or not. Yet here I am. Right, it
Right.
wouldn't serve me well to build my life on a story about, oh well, I got cancer. Well, because I didn't get cancer. Right, I, Bruce Van Horn, did not have cancer. This body that Bruce Van Horn lives in got cancer. The car that I drive has a couple scrapes on it and a little bit of rust, but I don't talk about how I have scrapes and rust. It's just a vehicle that I drive. This body is a vehicle in which I experience this human experience. So I detach myself a little. I've got to constantly question the story that I'm telling myself, first and foremost, and the story that I'm telling other people. First of all, does the story that I'm telling, does it serve me well? Does it move me in a positive direction, or does it keep me stuck in victim mode? Does it empower me to grow? Or am I telling it in such a way as to manipulate sympathy from people, right? Because I feel empty, I feel lonely. And now I tell the story, oh, yeah, I'm a cancer survivor. And then it's really easy for people to put their arm around you, go, oh, you poor thing, that must be so hard. Yeah, that was so hard. And while that we can smile and say things like that, yet we do it every day. In fact, we build
Absolutely.
personality around that, but it doesn't serve us well, and it doesn't lift anybody else up. Now, for me to tell a story that says, you know what, I did have cancer. Now I am healthy. I don't actually even talk about cancer very often. I drove my doctor crazy because he wanted to keep talking about treatment. He wanted to talk about these various treatments to fight cancer. I said, I don't want to fight cancer. What else is to talk about the real outcome that we really want? Okay, cancer being dead. If the goal is to kill the cancer or to beat the cancer, now what? It still isn't what we want. So let's talk about the outcome that we want. So give me the same medicine. Let's do the same treatment, but let's do it for a different reason with the desired outcome. The desired outcome isn't to beat cancer. The desired outcome is to restore and create perfect health. So let's do that, right? So now I talk about I'm healthy. I'm alive. I'm married. I have great kids. I've got a puppy. So constantly question your own log, the story. Does it move you forward? Does it lift you up? And secondly, is it a story that actually really does motivate people? Right? You can think that telling people about your really sad circumstances lifts people up, but it really doesn't. It doesn't.
I love it. I
Right?
love it. So, oh my goodness, you said so many great points, and I have to highlight just three. So, everyone who is listening, Bruce just basically said one, we all create our outcomes. So, we are 100% responsible to what is happening in life to us or what life is for us. I call it take responsibility for your own life. And second, he said, question the stories that you are telling yourself. Question, because most of them are not coming from the happy mindset. Most of them are coming from the victim mindset, where you go and want to share and you hope for someone to say, poor you, I feel you. I love that. And the third realization for me is, going and reaching to people like you. Like, I just, by going to your podcast, Life is a Marathon, I was able to find you when I was feeling so down and listen to your teachings, because you already walked the path that I wanted to join. And so it's not that difficult. Find people who will help you to get where you want to go. And in the meantime, we have all these great people joining us. Look at here, Mike Moose. He was with us in Florida, yes, at your workshop.
Oh, I remember Mike. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, hi, Mike. We love you too. Thank you so
Nice.
much.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
and
you,
we
Mike.
have,
Excellent. Welcome.
yeah, even my husband joined us. Looking forward to Beata and I being able to see you. Yes, so we have all these great listeners. My friend Darla is here. She's awesome. A coach and speaker as well. My sister from Poland, love you so much. We have Garlin, that is my supporter from India. And I all you recommend and ask you to please get in touch with Bruce. Find him. It's very easy. brucevanhorn.com. And, get to know this man. He is awesome. And his teachings are just out of the world. But also, if anyone has questions to ask, please not to us, to Bruce. I'm the second here today,
Yeah.
to Bruce, because you have him live, like right here. So
You are
please,
quite capable of answering a lot of these questions.
absolutely. But today the lights are on you, and I want people to use it. Yes, when they have opportunity. Oh, and Isabella join us. Thank you so much. Bruce, so you mentioned so many great things, but also you mentioned that life is a marathon. It's your podcast, but in life you are truly a runner. So can you tell us and share how did it happen that you become the runner, and how did it improve or change your life, your personal, not only your mindset or health? How did it influence your life?
Sure. Yeah, it's one of those really interesting things. I was 42 years old. Let's go back to 2005. So what's this? 2000. So yeah, you could do the math. A long time ago. 2005. I was overweight. I was out of shape. I had been experiencing a lot of very difficult situations in my life. Had filed bankruptcy for the second time, and again, I tell these things not to get any sympathy from you. They're just it's just data. These were the events of my life. My daughter had recently passed away, and so I was in the negative story to the point where things had gone wrong in my life so significantly and for such a long period of time that I told a story that things are never going to get better. And when you tell a story that things are never going to get better, there's not a lot to live for. And so I was actually considering ways to end my life. So about that time, my older brother, I live in Richmond, Virginia. My older brother came to Richmond, Virginia to run the Richmond Marathon, and this was November of 2005. And he he came and he ran the race, and we went down and watched him, and that was fun. And at dinner later that night, he's sitting, in my kitchen table, and he said, "Bruce, you should do this. You should run marathons." And I laughed at the man because I thought that was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard in my life. I'm out of shape. I'm overweight. I can't really play with my two boys very long without huffing and puffing. Um, and I said, no, I could never do that. And he said something that not right at that moment, but later completely changed my life. He said, the hardest thing about running a marathon is making the decision to do it. And I was pretty sure he was wrong. I was pretty sure the hardest part about running a marathon was the actual running part. Yet something happened, and I felt at least motivated to start exercising a little bit. So I started walking, and then I started jogging, and then I started jogging more and maybe mixing in a little bit of actual running. And I actually was starting to enjoy it. And then I enrolled in a little neighborhood 5K, and that was actually fun. And so I enrolled in 10K and I ran that, and it was actually fun. I was starting to enjoy doing something just for me. Then I decided I'd take my brother's challenge. I'm going to train for a marathon. And so in the summer of 2006, I was out for a long run, an 18-mile training run, and I would get up early in the morning before the sun came up, and I would run 9 miles out, turn around, and then run 9 miles home. And about the time I turned around to come back home, the sun was just coming up over the horizon. I was looking at it, and it was pretty. Yet it sounds like I'm having fun at this point. But deep, deep down inside, I'm still a very, very angry person. I'm cynical, I'm sarcastic. I'm enjoying running, but everything else sucks. If I can use that harsh language. Everything else about my life was still hard and not going the way I wanted it to go. And if you had been jogging along beside me, our conversation would have been very negative. It would have been a conversation about everything goes wrong in life. And if you had turned to me and said, Bruce, what's your problem? Without any hesitation, I could have rattled off a long list of problems. And I also had an equally long list of people, circumstances, things, and even God who was to blame for all of my problems. And Mr. Bruce Van Horn was nowhere on that list. I was 100% in victim mode. These things happened. These people did those things, made my life miserable. I am the way I am because of these people. I was a victim to circumstances. And then I remembered what my brother said almost a year earlier. He said, Bruce, the hardest part about running a marathon is making the decision to do it. Now, I misunderstood him. At this point, I'm standing still in the middle of the road, not even aware if someone's going to run me over. But I've got tears running down my cheeks because I've had this revelation. The word revelation is interesting. It wasn't that I instantly learned something, but a revelation is a revealing of something that was always there, but was hidden. You didn't see it, but it was always there. And that's the truth. The truth was always there. I was just in denial of the truth. And so what my brother said was the hardest part is making the decision to do it. I thought he was talking about a decision that you make once. I'm deciding to run a marathon. And then you go about training. Well, what was so hard about that? But it occurred to me that I misunderstood him. It's hard because it's a decision that you have to make every single day. You have to make a decision every single day to get up out of bed or get up off the couch. Believe that you don't know whether you succeed or fail, but you believe that you can try. And you do something every day to become what you believe you can become. So if I believed that I could become a marathon runner, I had to make a decision to get up off the couch every day and do it, right? So in the process of doing that, I had to realize that whether I succeed or fail as in a marathon is 100% my responsibility. If I don't train for the marathon, that's nobody's to blame but me. If I succeed, I'm also the one who succeeded. You can't blame anybody else for your success or for failure when you're running a marathon. And what I realized was this E plus R equals O formula. Right? I only had one problem, not a long list of problems. And I only had one person to blame, not a long list of people. I had one problem, and that was a thinking problem. And I had one person to blame, and it was Bruce Edward Horn. And the way I was thinking, right? And then I decided to start applying what I did for the marathon for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And instead of, not enjoying my work, what could I do to start enjoying my work? If I wanted to be a writer, what could I do to start being the writer I always wanted to be, or the dad I always wanted to be? But what I realized was I had also done what a lot of other people have done in their lives, is I set toxic goals for myself. I set goals that said, well, once I get this new job, then I'll feel successful. Or when when all of these other things happen, then I'll be successful. When I was a marathon runner, I was a marathon runner before I crossed the finish line of that marathon. I did run that marathon later in November with my brother, and it's fun to boast. I beat him by 45 minutes. But that morning, That morning in August, I was already a marathon runner. Crossing the finish line of the marathon was the fruit that showed up in my life because I was simply expressing who and what I already was. Right? I now more recently tell a story. I won't tell the whole story. I'll give you the short version of it, of Andy the apple tree. Have you heard me tell the story about Andy the apple tree?
No,
So
or maybe I just
Andy's just this little tiny, yeah. So Andy is this little tiny baby apple tree, a sapling. I live there. There's apple orchards around where I live, and so Andy is this little baby apple tree. It's got a little fence around it, and it's got strings to hold it up and keep it stable because it's still a little bit weak. But it's growing up around all of these full-grown apple trees in this beautiful apple orchard. When apple picking season comes, so do the humans. And the humans love to pick apples. The children are saying, Mommy, Daddy, pick me up on your shoulder so I can pick apples off of the tree. They spread out picnic blankets and they have picnics underneath the branches of these big apple trees. And the squirrels come and they pick the apples off of the apple trees. And the birds come and build nests in their branches and peck at the apples because it feeds them. And Andy's looking around at the big apple trees who are getting all kinds of attention. And Andy says to himself, what do these trees have that I don't have? And he looks around and he goes, they've got apples. I don't have apples. They've got apples. I've got to work really, really hard to get apples. I've got to grow up big and strong to get apples. Because when I get apples, the humans will want to be underneath my branches. They will want to climb up in my branches and pick my apples. So I got to get apples because when I get apples, then I will be an apple tree. Now, an older
wow.
apple tree is watching Andy struggle, and the older, wiser apple tree says, oh dear, you've got it all backwards. Apples aren't something that you get that make you the apple tree. You already are an apple tree. And by being from your size, from being the fullest tree that you can be, the apples are fruit that bears on the branches of your life. And people will enjoy what you offer to them as a result of you being who and what you are. Right? But I hadn't done that in my life either. All I ever wanted to be from the time I was about 14 years old, all I ever wanted to be was a writer. Yet, and I studied writing and won lots of writing contests when I was in college. And the day I graduated from college, I went to work for IBM in high-tech computer sales because I could make a lot of money. And I thought making a lot of money would make me happier than writing books. And while I was successful at it, I was actually good at it. It never fed my soul. So it was even the money that I was making, even though I was making lots of sales, it was depleting me. It was draining me to the point I had nothing left because I was thinking that making money would be what makes me happy. And then I realized that I have to be happy. And I have to express the things that are naturally in me without looking around to see who's doing it better than me, right? I listen to very few podcasts, right? Because I don't really care what other podcasts are talking about. I do my podcast. I love podcasts. And if it changes lives, then it's fruit that bears on the tree of my life. And it's not until now that I'm at almost 57 years old and I'm happier than I've ever been in my life because I'm finally doing things because they feel good to do. And I'm being rewarded by people like you who are benefiting from what I put out in the world, but I will do this until I can't do it more, regardless of whether I make money from it, right? Making money isn't a goal. Making money, I now see as the fruit from what I do.
Wow, what a story. And people, do you hear it? It's just a piece of what he does. So go and listen to Life is a Marathon. Marathon.com is the website, but go and listen. There is so much more what Bruce is offering. And just listening to that stories, you know, I already had chills, and you were speaking to some stuff that I'm still acting on in the wrong way. I feel like sometimes I forgot to live for
You
my
also,
fullest potential. We can hear you. Did you say something?
I'm just in agreement with you. Yes, we forget that we are spiritual beings here to have a human experience. Yet we forget that all of the stuff is part of the human experience, right? And
Right.
we're here to enjoy it. So why not do things we enjoy and be who we were created to be, rather than be something we think other people want us to be, or think we need to impress other people. One of the things that, it's easy to look at people and the level of success they've achieved. Maybe they're a doctor or a lawyer or CEO of a big company, right? Maybe they're a famous rock star. Yet they come to me for coaching because they're not happy, right? And I sit back and say, oh, well, how does a doctor who makes all this money, how are you happy? Well, he never wanted to be a doctor to begin with. She never wanted to be a lawyer. It's just that she was really good at certain things in school, and a guidance counselor said, you should be a lawyer and you'll make lots of money and you won't ever have to worry in your life. Doctors make lots of money, so, and some people do it because it's part of what the family expects, right? Dad was a lawyer, or mom was a lawyer, and you're expected to follow in their footsteps, and they're not happy doing the thing, right? And so no amount of money is going to make you happy. It's you are happy doing what you were meant to do, and the money is just a reward for doing it well, right? And even then, you don't want to fall into the trap of, oh, well, if I'm not making a lot of money, I'm not doing it well. You doing it well is how happy you feel in the doing of the thing. That's the only level by which you can judge success. Is how happy are you expressing what's inside you that seeks expression? Right? Not any.
Wow.
There's no outside certificate that's going to make
Yeah, I could.
I set myself up for, right. Do you want to be a good wife?
Are you
I'm asking
asking
the
me?
question. Do you want to be a good wife to Michael?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Who determines whether you're a good wife to Michael?
I.
Does Michael decide that?
No, it's me.
Or do you decide that? What if Michael were to, not just existence, but if Michael were to say, you're not a good wife, is he the determiner of that? Well, we often do. We decide, okay, well, I want to be a good dad. Well, who decides whether or not I'm a good dad? Well, my boys do. I want to be a good husband, but so who decides whether or not I'm a good husband? Well, Elizabeth does, right? And so we're constantly seeking to please people because we want their approval. What I had to realize was that I've got to stop trying to please people. Being a good dad is not even a goal of mine. I don't want to be a good dad. Don't misunderstand that. I don't want to be a good husband. Right? Don't misinterpret that. I don't even want to be a good life coach or a good podcaster. Those are not goals of mine. Every day I have one goal: be the best Bruce I can possibly be. Be the fullest expression of who and what I was created to be. And what I've discovered is that when I am, Bruce is naturally a good dad. Bruce is naturally a good husband. Bruce is naturally a good life coach and good podcaster. It's not something that I'm striving to be. It's something that I just naturally am because of me being the best Bruce I can be. Right? And now my kids
Absolutely.
can get mad at me, but I don't think, oh, I'm a failure as a dad. Right? Elizabeth can get mad at me, and oh, she does sometimes. Right? And
Right.
but it doesn't mean I'm a failure as a husband, right? I get up every day and I try to be Bruce the next day, right? That's the only goal. And that way I can't compare myself because I can't say, oh, well, I'm not being as good a Bruce as Michael is being a Michael. That's a silly comparison. I can only be me.
That's true. Yes, and we compare all the time. That is so
And I can
true.
stop and I can stop worrying about that, right? So as long as we were
Absolutely.
talking about worry.
Absolutely. Bruce, thank you so very much. And again, I have to highlight what you just said. It's all circles to this decision making. Like you said, you won the marathon because you made the decision that morning that I'm the winner, right? I be there. So you made the decision in the morning and when you started training for it. And the other thing that I love about your podcast, I think you still do it. Life is a marathon. Let's train for it. Oh my gosh, I love it. And the other
Yeah.
awesome part that I want to bring up is we all set toxic goals that you talk about. And, I didn't hear this word toxic goals, but they are toxic if we focus on the outcome only and don't see that we are already the outcome. That I love that. Bruce, I'm so happy that you were with me today. Please,
Thank you, Beata.
do you have any last advice, quote that you want to leave our audience with that would inspire them to move from the couches and start living?
I want everybody on the planet to be who they were created to be. And that's really all there is, right? There are um, your happiness, your inner peace is more important. You can't fix other people, right? You can't, right? If I'm looking to my wife, who I adore and I love her madly, and I am such a happier person when I'm in her presence. Yet I don't look to her for my happiness, right? She can't make me happy. At some point, I have to make a decision again. When I'm with her, I'm deciding to be happy, right? But my being a happy person just meets my flame meets with her flame, and together we are brighter, right? So when you grow, when when all the people who are on this call, when they grow, they affect the person next to them. I believe in the butterfly effect. I very much believe a reporter once asked Mother Teresa. He said, Mother Teresa, what one thing can I do to have the greatest impact on world peace? And she looked at him and said, you really want to know what one thing you can do that will have the greatest impact on world peace? He said, yeah, I want to know. She said, go home love your family. That's it. There are no big issues. There are only little issues, right? We're seeing a world right now that looks like it's in turmoil, but it's because there's a lot of individual people who are in turmoil. There will not be world peace until there's individual peace in the lives of everybody on the planet. When I'm in a peaceful place in me, it would never even occur to me to attack or harm you, right? So that's why I want you to grow. That's why I want you to find your inner peace, tap into that, be what you believe you can be, and that's what changes the world, right? So that's what I would leave with you. When you change you, I benefit.
Love it. When you change you, we all benefit. Oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Thank you so very much. And the easiest way to reach out to you is, of course, your website, brucevanhorn.com. You are also on Instagram, yes? And Twitter is your kingdom, I believe.
Twitter, yeah. I'm having problems with Instagram. My account got hacked. But let's start with Twitter, and let's see if I can get my Instagram back.
Yes,
So,
and
yeah.
so I really hope that you can get your Instagram back, because there was awesome, and your stories, and you travel a lot with your wife, so you share all of it. But let's all support Bruce and find his new account. It's bruce.vh, yes? Or Bruce, yeah, bruce.vh, I believe. And yeah, and they can find you. So yeah, so please follow Bruce, whoever took his previous account away, whatever. Let's help him to build a new one. And Bruce, thank you so very much for being here with us today. And I hope you can come back
thank you, my dear
another
friend.
time. All right. And everyone, every Tuesday at noon.
Yep.
Thank you, Bruce. Everyone, thank you so much for being here with us. Please follow Bruce wherever you can find him anyway. But also check his podcast, Life is a Marathon. And my question to all of you, what kind of decision you have to make today to start your life, your marathon? So whatever it is for you in your life. I'll be here next Tuesday at noon with another guest. One more time, I want to say big thank you to Bruce, and you always welcome people on your podcast, or namaste. So namaste.
Okay. Thank you, my beautiful friend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.